Hi, I'm Josiah,
And I'm Elizabeth.
and this is Worth Watching. So tonight's movie is the latest example of a series of films based on books, needlessly turning the last book into two movies just to make more money.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Worth Watching. Today we're reviewing Mockingjay Part 1.
So this movie takes place after the events of Catching Fire. Of course, Katniss has been rescued and is being taken to District 13, which is this underground city made up of like a military compound that's getting ready to revolt against the capital. And so she is drawn into this and has to become their spokesperson, their Mockingjay, to help out with the propaganda and getting the other districts to align with them in order to fight back against the capital.
One thing I really liked about this movie was the fact that they stayed so true to the books. I felt like the first and the second wasn't as true and they left out some parts, but I felt like they really included all the important parts in this movie.
Yeah, and something that I liked about this movie a lot is I'm not a person who's read the Hunger Games books, and I'm not a huge fan of this whole new trend of like young adult post-apocalyptic fiction. I really like this movie because as opposed to being one adolescent girl's journey with her boyfriend to go save the world in this crazy, improbable, futuristic scenario, this was a movie about the beginnings of a revolution. Katniss's character in this thing isn't doing all these things by herself, and I feel like that's something a lot of people might not like about this movie that I actually thought was a plus for me, is that like the decisions are being made by adults and she is their spokesperson because she's the symbol of hope, rather than her taking her bow and arrow and going and doing crazy things in the worlds in these crazy futuristic games. And so rather than a movie that feels like it's based off of a teen adventure novel, this feels like a revolution revolt movie, which is what it is.
One thing that I really appreciated that this movie did was they stayed really realistic in their scenes and sets. Even though it was futuristic, it still was believable and it looked really cool. And I really liked when they went to like this ruin area, and I can't tell you where it was because I'd give away a spoiler, but it was just fantastic. I liked the way they did it, and I thought it was a good job.
And I agree with you there, except for one aspect of the movie that keeps bugging me, and that is this love triangle between Katniss and Peeta and Gale. It just at this point feels really fake and forced and cheesy, and like the movie's dialogue overall is really great and the writing is good until a scene happens between Katniss and Gale and everything just drops. It feels like it was written by a 12-year-old. It sounds awful and cheesy and cliche, and it's there just to create drama that doesn't need to be there. I feel like the movie would have flowed a lot better without those scenes in there. It just annoyed me.
I agree. I felt like all the Peeta and Katniss scenes were really good, but I felt like they could have cut out a couple ones of her and Gale.
But with that being said, I had heard a couple reviews of this movie that said that it was kind of slow and not a lot happened, and I was like, oh no, this is going to be like the first Hobbit movie. Not at all, actually. As long as you're interested in stuff like propaganda and what's going on behind the scenes and the makings of a revolution, I think you're going to be entertained all the way through this movie. It is paced really well. Not a ton actually happens in the movie action-wise, but a lot happens, you can tell, is very deliberately building up to the second movie. So with all that in mind, what would you rate this movie?
I would really have to give this movie an A. I liked it better than the first one and the second one. Even though I liked the second book better, I have to give this movie an A.
I'm going to give it an A as well. I was really pleasantly surprised by it. I went into it with not the highest of expectations, but I ended up really enjoying it, and I think if you like revolution movies and things like that, you're going to really enjoy this movie.
Thanks for watching this episode of Worth Watching.
Remember to like this video if you like it, comment down below with your thoughts on The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, and subscribe if you want to see more. Bye.